She said, "What happens in Miami stays in Miami." I texted back, "And what happens to my bank account stays in my bank account." If you're listening to this and you like stories about boundaries and people finally choosing themselves, help me reach more people. Hit like, make sure you're subscribed, and tell me in the comments what you would have done in my place, because a lot of folks told me I was overreacting at first. My name's David. I'm 33, live in Florida, work in IT for a hospital network, and up until a few months ago, I thought I was building a life with my wife, Ashley. We'd been married 3 years, together 5. No kids yet. That was supposed to come after we bought a house. That was the plan. Ashley loved saying, "We're a team," especially when she wanted something. Team this, team that, matching hoodies on Christmas, Instagram captions about power couple energy. On paper, we were doing well. I made decent money. She did social media marketing for a cosmetics brand. We had a reasonably nice 2-bedroom apartment outside Tampa with an okay kitchen and a view of a retention pond they like to call a lake. We had a shared Google sheet titled House Fund that I updated every Friday like clockwork. There was a color code, little progress bars, notes about neighborhoods we liked. I'm that guy. When we got married, we agreed. Rent cheap, live below our means, save hard for 3 to 5 years, then buy a place with a yard and maybe a dog and then kids. I was on board. She said she was on board. And at first she was. The first year, we were that nauseating couple that meal prepped together on Sundays. We tracked every expense, cooked instead of going out, had date nights at home with Costco wine and Netflix instead of expensive dinners. She'd show people our aggressive savings plan like she'd invented Excel. I used to think about that version of her a lot later. Gravity doesn't just flip. It shifts, tiny degrees at a time. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have paid more attention the first time the ground tilted. The first sign was small, like they always are. It was a Thursday night. I'd just gotten home from a 12-hour day dealing with a failed software update that took down half the nurses' stations. I smelled perfume before I even closed the apartment door. Ashley walked out of the bedroom in a black dress I'd never seen, phone in one hand, heels dangling from the other. "Hey," I said, dropping my laptop bag by the entry. "You going somewhere?" She kissed my cheek lightly, already half past me. "Girls' night, I told you." She had not told me. "You told me Becca might come over to watch that dating show," I said. She rolled her eyes, heading for the mirror by the hall. "Same group, different venue. Don't start. It's just dinner and maybe a bar." "Okay," I said slowly. "What time you thinking you'll be home?" She slipped on her heels, checking her phone more than the mirror. "I don't know, David. Whenever. It's a Thursday, not a moral crisis." I wasn't trying to make it one. "Just shoot me a text if you're going to be super late, yeah. I gotta be up at 6. She made a face into the mirror. "You're not my dad, I'm not 15. I let it slide. We were adults. She deserved to go out with her friends. I microwaved some leftover chicken and watched a rerun of a game I'd already seen. At midnight, I glanced at the clock and then at my phone. No text. At 1, I tried calling. It rang twice, then went to voicemail. At 2:15, the door finally opened. She came in smelling like a bar floor and expensive perfume. Her eyeliner was smeared just enough to say long night, but not enough to be a disaster. "You good?" I asked from the couch. I hadn't been able to fall asleep. She jumped a little. "Why are you still up? That's creepy." "Because you left 6 hours ago and never responded," I said. "I texted and called." She swiped her phone open, squinting. "My bad, my phone was on silent mode." She waved her hand like that solved it. "We ended up at some rooftop place. It was fun. You should come out sometime and remember what youth feels like." "I'm 33, not 80, I said. "I just like knowing my wife is safe." "Safe?" she laughed, tossing her clutch on the counter. "I was with 3 other women. It's fine, David. Don't be dramatic." That was the word she liked to use when she didn't want to take something seriously. Dramatic. I didn't push. I said, "I'm going to bed. I have to be at the hospital at 7. In bed, I stared at the ceiling and told myself it was nothing. She'd gone out, lost track of time, big deal. I'd known when I married her that she loved going out. She slowed down after we got married, but the partier was still in there. People need balance. I could handle a little imbalance. Balance, I found out, is hard to keep when one person thinks they're walking a tightrope and the other thinks they're at a trampoline park. Weekdays turned into more girls' nights. Not every night, not even every week at first, just more. More makeup laid out, more outfits that said fun instead of "I'm going to bed by 10. More Instagram stories tagged at bars and lounges with neon signs and cocktails that cost more than our weekly grocery bill. I started to notice her phone habits changing too. It wasn't just that she was on it all the time. I work in IT, I get it. We're all glued to screens. It was how she used it. The phone started living face down on tables. Lock screen timeouts got shorter. One day, I watched her swipe out of a text thread so fast her thumb blurred when I walked into the room. "Who's that?" I asked, pouring coffee. She didn't look up. "Work. Work texts you at 11 on a Saturday." She sighed and gave me a tight smile. "Influencers don't sleep, David, you know this." I took my mug to the table and opened the laptop. Our house fund spreadsheet popped up immediately. It was my browser's home page. The green bar said we were 41% to our down payment goal. It made me feel better. Numbers are honest. They don't go dancing at midnight. 2 weekends later, we were at our friends Ray and Jenna's backyard barbecue. Ray grilled like he was auditioning for a cooking show. Jenna floated around with a pitcher of margaritas, and everyone else lounged in camp chairs under string lights. Ashley looked good. She always looked good. Denim shorts, white tank top, layered gold necklaces. She laughed easily, tossed her hair the way she did when she knew people were watching. It used to make me proud. That's my wife. We were huddled near the grill when the topic of Miami first floated up, like a storm cloud on a clear day. Becca, one of Ashley's single friends, plopped down next to her with a red cup. "Okay, so I'm serious this time. Miami, end of June, girls only. We deserve a reset." "Oh my God, yes," Ashley said immediately. "Please, I need South Beach and bad decisions." Everyone laughed. I smiled, but something in my chest tightened a half notch. "You just got back from Nashville," I said lightly. "How many resets does one person need?" Becca waved me off. That was a bachelorette, totally different genre. "It was 3 weeks ago," I said, but nobody cared about that detail except me. Ashley bumped my shoulder with hers. "Don't listen to Grandpa Dave. He thinks shots are when the doctor gives you medicine." "True," I said, "but my shots actually keep you alive." They laughed again. Ray shot me a quick look over the grill and "Are you okay?" kind of look. I shrugged a little. I was okay. I thought I was. Later that night, after everyone had left and Ray and I were stacking chairs, he said, "She's been going out a lot, huh?" I wiped my hands on a dish towel. "Yeah, I guess she's just trying to get it out of her system before we do the suburban thing." He nodded slowly. "Long as you're good with it." "I'm taking notes," I said. "If it gets too weird, I'll say something." We both knew I already had. The next weird came a week later. It was a Friday. I'd brought home Thai food, feeling mildly triumphant because I'd finally finished a brutal system migration project. I texted Ashley earlier, told her I'd pick up her usual. She replied with a heart and yes. By the time I spread the containers out on the kitchen counter, her heart had apparently expired. 8 o'clock, then 9, then 10. Her location showed up downtown, then disappeared when she turned it off. Her phone went straight to voicemail. I ate my pad Thai alone at the kitchen table, the faint hum of the fridge louder than it needed to be. At 1:30 in the morning, keys rattled in the lock. She came in laughing at something on her phone, stopped when she saw me sitting there. "You scared the crap out of me," she said, hand on her chest. "Dinner S in the fridge," I said, "or what's left of it." She glanced at the table like she just noticed it existed. "Oh, sorry. Becca texted, we went out, it turned into a night. I didn't want to ruin your fun by dragging you into a club." "Ruin my fun?" I asked. "I was here, with noodles and a Marvel movie. It's not that I wanted to go clubbing, Ash. It's that I want to know if my wife is alive or in a ditch." She rolled her eyes. "You're so dark." "I'm so informed," I said. "Or trying to be. I texted you, I called, it went to voicemail." She held up her phone, screen black. "Dead C, crisis averted." "Text me before it dies next time," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "Or put it on a charger at some point in a 6-hour span." "You are making such a big deal out of nothing," she snapped. "I'm not cheating on you, David. I went dancing with my friends. That's literally it." I had not said the word cheating. It just hung there now between us. "Okay," I said slowly. "I didn't say you were cheating. I said I'd like a text." "You're being controlling," she said. "This is what financial abuse looks like, by the way. First it's tracking my movements, then it's cutting off access to money then." "Whoa," I said, blinking. "Where is that coming from?" She folded her arms, chin up. "You act like all the money is yours and I'm just some teenager asking for allowance." That was interesting, considering this was about a text, not money. But the word stuck in my head: abuse. "I asked you to send a text," I repeated. "We can talk about the money separately if you want, but don't throw buzzwords at me because you stayed out until 2 on a work night." She huffed, stepped out of her heels, and stomped off toward the bedroom. "You know what, forget it. I'm too tired for this." That was how a lot of those arguments ended. Forget it, I'm tired. I wasn't tired, I was taking notes. Over the next month, the pattern solidified. She'd go out with her friends, Becca and Tori mostly, come back late, and any time I tried to set a reasonable boundary, I got some version of "you're controlling," "you're dramatic," or "you just don't want me to have fun." In public, it turned into a bit. We were at dinner with another couple from my work, Tom and Melissa, at a new tapas place Ashley had picked. The check came. I grabbed it, glanced at the total, and did the mental math of how far off budget we were that month. "We're a little over our eating out line item," I said, half to myself, half to Ashley. She smirked and said to Melissa, "He's got us on a spreadsheet like I'm one of his servers. If I log too much fun, he throttles me." Melissa laughed awkwardly. Tom looked interested, like he was watching a documentary on a species he didn't understand. I smiled thinly. "We're saving for a house, that was the plan." Ashley clinked her glass against mine. "Relax, Daddy, you'll get your house." I didn't like that, the daddy thing. It wasn't sexual, it was infantilizing, like I was some killjoy parent and she was the fun kid. On the way home, I said, "Don't do that, please." "What joke?" she said, scrolling her phone. "Call me Daddy in front of people like I'm your warden." She sighed. "You're so sensitive lately. It's a joke," they laughed. "Yeah," I said quietly, "they did." 2 weeks later, the Miami storm cloud finally rolled in. I was at the dining table, laptop open, receipts scattered around. Friday night spreadsheet ritual. I heard the click-clack of Ashley's heels on the laminate and looked up. She was in yoga pants and an oversized t-shirt this time, hair in a messy bun, but her expression was all business. "Okay," she said, dropping onto the chair across from me. "Serious topic, don't flip out." "Those openings always go well," I said. "What's up?" "The girls' trip," she said. "Miami, end of June. We booked the Airbnb, it's right in South Beach, like walking distance to everything. Flights are like 300, I did the math." She slid a piece of paper across the table like a proposal deck. "All in, I'll need about $2,000. I stared at the paper. Flights, lodging, experiences, food, emergency cash. It was organized enough. It also did not work with our life. $2,000, I repeated. From where? She blinked. From our savings, duh, I'm not a magician. The house fund, I asked. She rolled her eyes. It's not the house fund, it's our life fund, and this is part of my life. I leaned back, exhaled slowly. Ash, that's a big chunk. We're at 43,000. Our target is 60 for a decent down payment. $2,000 is almost a month of saving for both of us. So, she said, we'll hit it a month later. We're not 80. I want memories before I have kids and my boobs relocate to my knees. I almost laughed, but the knot in my chest wouldn't let me. We've taken trips, I said. We did New Orleans last year. With my points, she shot back. That wasn't like this. That was like sightseeing and beignets with Grandpa Dave. This is a girl's trip, different vibe. I'm not saying don't go anywhere, I said carefully. I'm saying 2,000 from our house fund for 3 nights in Miami is not smart. She crossed her arms. It's my money too. Yes, I said, it is, and my money, and the future roof over both our heads. We agreed on a plan. Our plan doesn't have to mean never doing anything fun, she said. You act like I'm asking you to buy me a Tesla. I opened the Google sheet, turned the laptop so she could see. Look, at our current rate, we hit 60 in 8 months. If we pull out $2,000, it's closer to 10. And that's if everything goes perfectly, which it never does. The car could die, one of us could lose a job, whatever. This isn't me hoarding money, Ash, it's me trying to protect us. She waved the laptop away like it was a bad commercial. You could just say you don't want me to go. Honestly, I said, I don't love the idea of you going to Miami with Becca. Let's make bad choices, Thompson. But if you really want to go, I'm not going to forbid you. I'm just not taking 2,000 out of our down payment fund to pay for bottle service. Wow, she snapped. You really think that's what it is? That's literally on your paper, I said, tapping the word table with VIP circled. Bottle service, multiple nights, expensive dinners. She snatched the paper back. You're being financially abusive right now. There it was again, abuse. I stared at her. No, I'm being fiscally responsible, different F word. You're trying to control me by controlling money, she said, voice rising. You have all the accounts, the spreadsheets, the passwords. You decide what's smart and dumb. That's financial abuse, David. I read an article about it. Articles are not diagnoses, I said. And if you feel that way, we can absolutely put things in separate accounts and do this transparently. But I'm not going to sit here and have you call me an abuser because I don't want to blow $2,000 on a party. She pushed back from the table so hard the chair squeaked. You know what? Forget it. I knew you'd react like this. Like what? I asked. Like someone who cares about our future. Like a control freak, she snapped, stalking toward the bedroom. You always act like you're the only adult in the room. I sat there staring at our little green progress bar. $43,000. $43,000 built, one lunch packed instead of bought, one side hustle, one overtime shift at a time. Not sexy. Very effective. I thought that was the end of it. That she'd cool off. Maybe we'd revisit the numbers, compromise. Habits are hard, but conversations are possible. 2 days later, I got the notification. Chase, a charge of $742.19 at American Airlines has been authorized on your card ending in ***. I was at my desk at work. I stared at my phone. Another notification came in a second later. A charge of $328.77 at Airboom Payments has been authorized. My stomach sank. I called her. Hey, she answered, a little too bright. Can I call you back? I'm in the middle of something. Did you just book Miami on the credit card? I asked. Silence for half a beat. Yeah, I told you we already decided. The prices were going up. I had to lock it in. We'll pay it back. Relax. I asked. Because that card gets paid from our joint account, the one I fund more because I make more. So explain to me again how I'm not paying for your trip." She scoffed. "Oh my God, listen to yourself. You make it sound like you're my boss cutting a company expense. It's literally our money." "Our money," I repeated, "that we agreed had a purpose." "You need to stop acting like I'm a child asking for allowance," she snapped. "I work too. I'm not going to miss my best friend's birthday trip because you've decided we're in the Great Depression." "I didn't decide anything," I said quietly. "I just asked you not to reach into the house fund, so you used the card without telling me." "I'm telling you now," she said. "And without telling me. That's creepy, David. I don't need permission to buy a plane ticket." My jaw clenched. "Okay, got it. You're making this into such a thing," she said. "I swear, you're going to survive 3 days without me." I didn't answer right away. Something in me was tired in a new way, not the tired you fix with sleep, the tired you fix with decisions. "David," she said, "hello." "I heard you," I said. "I'll talk to you later, I've got a meeting." I hung up before she could spin it further. That night we sat opposite each other on the couch, some Netflix show playing that neither of us watched. "So you're just going to sulk," she finally said. "I'm not sulking," I said. "I'm processing, there's a difference." "You sound like my therapist," she muttered. "Does your therapist know you call your husband financially abusive because he doesn't want to fund a party?" I asked. She glared. "Wow, that's low." "What's low is you going around me to book the trip and then acting like I'm crazy for not loving the move," I said. "So let's be clear. You can go to Miami. I'm not your jailer. But I'm also not paying for it. Not with our house money, not with cards I pay off." "You already did," she said, chin up. "The charges went through." "For now," I said. "But if you're this big independent girl boss who doesn't need me to approve her spending, you also don't need me to fund it. So here's how this works now. From this week forward, my direct deposit is going into a new account in my name. I'll transfer half of the bills to the joint account every month like rent and utilities. What's left in there is what we've already saved. I won't touch it. You also don't. That's the house fund, whether it ends up buying our house or my house. For your trip, you can pay down the card yourself from your income or figure something else out. Either way, I'm not subsidizing choices I explicitly disagree with." Her eyes narrowed. "So you are cutting me off. Financial abuse. Thank you for proving my point." "I'm separating savings from discretionary," I said evenly. "Two very different things. I'm not turning off lights in the grocery store or taking away your cards, but I'm done having you treat joint resources like your personal ATM." She scoffed. "You can't just move all your money without talking to me." "I am talking to you," I said. "Right now, that's me talking." She shook her head. "This is insane. I'm not going to live like some 1950s housewife on an allowance." "Then don't," I said. "Live however you want, just pay for it with your own money." She stared at me for a long moment, mouth pressed into a thin line. "You're going to regret this." I shrugged. "Maybe, but I'll regret not drawing a line a lot more." That was the first time I used that word with her, line. In my head, I'd drawn small lines before. Text me if you're late. Don't joke about me being your dad. Don't take money from our house fund without a conversation. She de-stepped over every one of them like they were chalk on a sidewalk. The thing about lines is, if you don't enforce them, they're just suggestions. I was starting to understand that. Over the next few weeks, the tension lived in the apartment like a third roommate. Some nights we'd be almost normal, cooking together, watching a show, even having sex. Other nights, it was like we were two strangers who happened to share a Netflix password. She threw herself into prepping for Miami. New clothes started appearing, tiny dresses, bikinis that looked more like suggestions than garments, heels that made my ankles hurt just looking at them. Packages showed up almost daily. When I raised an eyebrow at the pile of boxes by the door, she said, "Relax, Most of this is from brand collabs, perks of the job. Cool, I said. So you don't need $2,000 of our savings too. She ignored that. One afternoon, I walked past the bathroom and saw her doing a full skincare ritual and then some. Nails, waxing appointment on the calendar, lash extensions. It was like she was preparing for a role. Must be one hell of an airbimb, I said, leaning on the doorframe. She glanced at me in the mirror. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, I said. Just a lot of prep for a girl's weekend. She rolled her eyes. You're so insecure, it's sad. I didn't feel insecure. I felt observant. 2 nights before the trip, we were in bed, backs to each other, phones glowing in the dark. She suddenly said, "You know, you could come if you wanted. Becca's boyfriend is going to be down there too with his boys. We could make it a thing." I stared at the ceiling. So, a guys and girls trip. Yeah, she said. Like parallel fun. We'd obviously still mostly do our own thing, but we'd be in the same city. Maybe you'd chill out if you saw it's not that deep. Nah, I said. That's not my scene. And if I have to go to Miami to prove my wife isn't doing anything shady, that's already an answer. She snorted. You think so highly of yourself. I think highly of data, I said, and behavior. She went quiet. I heard her thumb tapping on the screen. The night before she left, she came home late from last-minute shopping, tossed 2 shiny shopping bags on the bed, and started packing a suitcase in silence. I watched her fold clothes I'd never seen, slip makeup into little pouches like she was assembling an armor kit. When's your flight? I asked. 8 a.m., she said shortly. I'll drive you, I said. She paused. It's okay. Becca's picking me up. I'll still drive you, I said. No reason you both have to pay for airport parking. She hesitated, then shrugged. Fine, whatever. The next morning, the sun wasn't even fully up when we loaded her suitcase into the car. The sky was that pale gray blue that feels like waiting. She wore leggings and an oversized hoodie, no makeup, hair in a messy bun. She still looked like an Instagram post. In the car, she scrolled her phone, texting rapid fire. You excited? I asked. Yeah, she said almost to herself. I need this. Need what? I asked. The break or the beach? Both, she said, then added, don't read into that. I already did, I said, but okay. She huffed, you're not fun lately, you know that. I'm not supposed to be fun, I said. I'm supposed to be your husband. She didn't respond. We pulled up to the departures drop-off. Becca's car wasn't there yet. I got out, popped the trunk, set her suitcase on the curb. She came around, hugging herself in the early morning chill. Okay, I'll text you when we land. Please do, I said. She looked at me for a second, then smirked. Don't blow up my phone. Remember, what happens in Miami stays in Miami. She said it like a joke, like a line from a movie she'd watched too many times. Something in me cooled. I pulled my phone out, opened our text thread, and typed, and what happens to my bank account stays in my bank account. I hit send and held the screen up. She glanced at it and rolled her eyes. You're so corny. You're the one quoting spring break slogans, I said. Becca's beat-up Jeep pulled up behind us, music already too loud for 6:30 in the morning. She leaned out the window, shouting, Miami, baby. Ashley lit up. She gave me a quick, perfunctory hug, a peck on the lips that landed more on my cheek than anywhere else, and then she was dragging her suitcase toward the Jeep. I watched them drive away, taillights blinking in the pale light. On the drive home, the car felt empty in a new way, not just physically, but like something had been unplugged. I stopped for coffee, sat in the parking lot, and stared at my dashboard for a long minute. If she wants to act single in Miami, I thought, I need to be prepared if that's not a phase but a preview. I didn't rage. I didn't call my buddies and curse her out. I opened my banking app instead. True to my word, My paycheck now hit a separate account. The joint account had the existing buffer, enough to cover rent and bills for a couple months if needed. The credit card she'd used for the flights and airbnb ticked up with interest in a neat little graph. I stared at the authorized users section and saw her name under mine. I hovered over the remove button and then set the phone down. Not yet, I thought. See what she does first. Give her the benefit of the last doubt. At home, the apartment was quiet. Her half-packed makeup bag sat on the bathroom counter, a couple of brushes fanned out like she'd just stepped away. Her slippers were by the couch. Our framed wedding photo on the bookshelf smiled at me, all hope and champagne. I went about my day. Did laundry, went to the gym, fixed a cabinet door that had been loose for months. Normal life. Texted her at 11:30. You land okay? She replied an hour later. Yep, at the airbnb, it's so nice. I'll send pics later. No pics appeared. By 8 that night, her Instagram started updating. First, a boomerang of margaritas clinking in their hands. Miami with my girls, the caption said, heart emoji, palm tree, of course. Harmless. Then a story of them walking down Ocean Drive in matching cover-ups over their bikinis, music blasting, sun bright. A little wild, but nothing outrageous. My group chat with my buddy Ray and another friend, Mark, lit up. Ray texted, "So Miami's live, huh?" Mark then sent, "You okay, man?" I replied, "We'll see, I'm observing." We watched from afar like it was a reality show. The next story hit around midnight my time, 1 a.m. in Miami. I was in bed, lights off, thumb mindlessly scrolling through Reddit. Her name popped up at the top of the screen with the colorful ring around it. I tapped. The video opened to a dark club, strobe lights painting everything in blue and purple. Ashley was in the frame, front and center, holding her phone at that flattering high angle. She was wearing one of the new dresses, a tiny red thing that clung more than it covered. Her hair was down, wild, makeup perfect. Behind her, some guy had his hands on her waist, pulling her back into him as they moved to the music. Not a casual, "Oh, the club is crowded" kind of contact. The "we've been grinding for a while and I forgot there were cameras" kind. She laughed into the camera, flipped her hair, pressed her body back against him. The kind of laugh she'd stopped giving me months ago. Across the screen in white text she'd written, "Single for the weekend." No smiley face, no lol JK, just that, "single for the weekend." That was the line. I stared at it, watched the story loop on repeat. Her eyes, the way she looked at herself in the camera, the guy's hand sliding a little lower each time. The text like a caption under a mugshot. If you'd asked me a year before how I'd react if I saw something like that, I would have said I'd explode, shout, throw things, drive to Miami, pull her out of the club by her elbow, something dramatic. I didn't do any of that. I watched it one more time. Then I locked my phone and set it on the nightstand. I wasn't angry. Anger is hot and loud and looks for an audience. I was cold, final. Something very simple clicked. She wanted to act single. I believed her. The next morning I got up at 7, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and a legal pad. I wrote at the top of the page, "Exit strategy." It was not the first time I'd thought about it. It was the first time I committed ink to paper. Checklist. Separate remaining finances completely. Remove her as authorized user on all credit cards. Freeze joint credit card for new charges. Change passwords on all shared financial accounts. Consult lawyer about options. Change locks. Pack her things. Logistics, no theatrics. I opened the bank app again. This time I didn't hover. First, I moved what remained of our loose savings, not the house fund, but the just-in-case cushion, into my personal account. That money had been the emergency net. Consider the emergency declared. Then I pulled up the credit cards. The one she'd used for Miami was almost maxed for our usual comfort level between the trip, her prep shopping, and some restaurant charges. I paid it down to zero from my personal account, then opened the Manage Users section. Under Authorized Users, I tapped her name. A list of options popped up. Remove authorized user. A warning appeared. This user's card will no longer work once removed. I hit confirm. Next, I froze the card for new purchases, paid off. No new charges. The bank would love me, Ashley not so much. I didn't cancel the card entirely. I still needed it for recurring bills that were already on auto pay. I wasn't trying to set my own life on fire to make a point. Then I called the bank. "Hi, this is David Carter," I said when the rep came on. "I need to make sure no one can initiate transfers from my accounts besides me. No joint permissions, no phone approvals through anyone but my voice. How do we lock that down?" The rep pulled up my profile, made a few suggestions, added a verbal password. It was all very boring and very satisfying. Habits are harder than divorce lawyers, but at least the bank doesn't bill by the hour. After that, I called a locksmith. My neighbor Todd did it on the side, but he was out of town for the weekend. The locksmith company said, "We can have someone there this afternoon." "Perfect," I said. "I want all locks rekeyed. No one but me gets a copy unless I hand it to them." While I waited for the locksmith, I texted my friend Ray. "You busy today?" I wrote. He called immediately. "You good?" he asked. "Define good," I said. "I need a witness and a bad joke supply. You free?" "For you, yeah," he said. "What's going on?" "Ashley posted from Miami last night," I said. "Grinding on some guy, captioned single for the weekend." "Oof," he said softly. "You okay?" "I'm clear," I said. "I'm changing the locks and packing her stuff. You in?" Silence for a second. "You're sure?" "More sure than I've been about anything in a while," I said. I matched temperature. She set it to freezing. I'm responding. "I'll be there in 20, he said. "Want coffee?" "Please," I said. While I waited, I pulled out our suitcases from the closet. Blue one, gray one. I set them on the bed. I didn't throw things into them. I folded. Her work clothes in neat stacks, casual clothes, the Miami outfits from what was left, her shoes in pairs, underwear in a separate small bag, toiletries. I set aside anything that was clearly sentimental, a sweatshirt from college, a box of old letters from her grandmother. I wasn't trying to punish. I was clearing space. Every time my brain tried to write a monologue about how unfair this was, I brought it back to the facts. She chose. I responded. Ray let himself in with his spare key. I'd given him when we first moved in. He stepped into the bedroom doorway, took in the sight of the suitcases, and let out a low whistle. "So it's that kind of Saturday," he said. "Yeah," I said. "Welcome to laundry day for my marriage." He handed me a coffee. "What do you need?" "Just hang out," I said. "Witness I didn't light her stuff on fire." He sat on the edge of the dresser. "You sure you don't want to talk to her first? Give her a chance to, I don't know, explain." "Explain what?" I said, folding a stack of T-shirts. The caption was pretty self-explanatory. Single for the weekend. That's not a typo. "People post stupid stuff," he said. "You know how it is, performance." I nodded. Yeah, she loves an audience. But she also loves the consequences when the audience goes away. Choices have invoices. I'm just sending this one to the right address. We worked in silence for a while. He made a few jokes. I smiled at some of them. Mostly I packed. Clothes, shoes, her decor pieces from the living room. Anything that screamed Ashley went into boxes. The locksmith showed up around 3. Short guy, lots of keys jangling at his waist. "Afternoon," he said. "You David?" "Yeah," I said, shaking his hand. "Front door, back door, and the storage closet downstairs. Rekey everything, please." He nodded. Got to work. The sound of drills and metal scraping was oddly soothing. New cylinder, new keys, new rules. Ray stood by the door, arms crossed. "This feels big," he said quietly. "It is," I said, "but honestly I feel calmer right now than I have in months." "You gonna tell her you're doing this?" he asked. "I'll tell her after it's done," I said. "I don't give people a vote on my boundaries. I inform them of the new policy." When the locksmith finished, he handed me a small ring with 3 keys. "Front-back storage," he said. "All new, no old key will work." "Great," I said, "thank you." He left. I stood there turning the new keys in my hand. Heavy, small, important. I hung one on the hook by the door, put one on my keychain, and set the third in a drawer. "Feels symbolic," Ray said. "Keys usually are," I said. We carried the packed suitcases and boxes into the second bedroom, which had been half office, half guest room. I lined them along the wall. "When she comes back, she can take them from here," I said. "No need for a whole performance in the living room." "You think she'll come straight here?" Ray asked. "She'll come straight to whoever will give her sympathy first," I said. "Might be here, might be her mom's, might be Becca's, doesn't matter. The locks say what I need to say." We ordered pizza that night and watched a game. Every hour or so, my phone would buzz with one of Ashley's Instagram updates. At some point, I muted her. If I was done in real life, I didn't need digital reruns. Around 10, my phone lit up with a number I didn't recognize. Miami area code. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, it rang again, same number. Ray raised an eyebrow. "That her?" "Probably," I said. "She might have worn her battery out on thirst traps." I answered. "Hello." The background noise hit me first. Loud music, people shouting, 100 conversations bleeding together into static. Then her voice, high and sharp. "David, what the hell did you do?" "Evening, Ashley," I said, "having fun." "Don't play with me," she snapped. "My card just got declined at the bar in front of everyone. I thought it was a glitch, so we tried again. Declined. Then I checked my email and it says I've been removed as an authorized user. What the actual hell is wrong with you?" I said, "the bank works fast." "This isn't funny," she shouted. "You embarrassed me in Miami in front of everyone." I pictured her at some glossy bar, the red dress, the friends, the performance cracking around the edges. "Let me guess," I said, "you were buying a round of shots." "That's not the point," she yelled. "The point is you can't just cut me off in another city. I'm stranded here. I don't have cash for the Uber back. I don't have anything. Turn the card back on. Now." I took a sip of my drink. "No." "You're being insane," she said. "We'll talk about this when I'm back. Just fix it for now, please." "Single for the weekend," I said calmly. "Try single for life." She went quiet for a second, like the connection had dropped. "What?" "I saw your story," I said. "The one where you're grinding on some dude and captioned it single for the weekend. That's a clear statement. I'm matching it." "Oh my God," she said. "It was a joke. It's a caption. Everyone says that. It's not that deep." "Captions are jokes," I said. "Hands on your hips are. Words have meanings. Actions have invoices. I paid the bill on that card. I'm not paying for your single weekend." "You're overreacting," she said, voice a little less sure. "It was nothing. He was just dancing. We were all dancing. You're going to blow up our entire marriage over a club dance and a caption." "Don't minimize your own choices," I said. "This isn't about a single story. This is about months of disrespect, boundary pushing, and you calling me abusive when I wouldn't fund it. The story was just the memo that the project's over." "You're punishing me," she said, voice trembling now. Under the bravado, some panic slipped through. "Wrong word," I said. "I'm protecting myself and my assets. You wanted to live like you're single, you can, on your dime." "Where am I supposed to go?" she demanded. "What am I supposed to do, sleep on the beach?" "You have friends there," I said. "You have your own card, your own bank account." That card is close to maxed, she said quickly, then caught herself. Because of all the stuff I bought for this trip, you said it was okay if I used my own credit. I said it was your decision, I corrected. And now you get to own the consequences of your spending. I'm not your emergency fund for choices I explicitly told you I didn't support. You're being so cold, she said. This is not like you. I matched temperature, I said, and you've been on ice for a while. This is financial abuse, she said again, grasping for the word that had worked for her before. Everyone's going to say you're abusive. I'm going to tell people what you did. Cutting off my money in another state. What if something happened to me? You mean like getting so drunk you can't pay your bar tab? I asked. That's a you problem now, not a we problem. You told the world you're single for the weekend. I'm just agreeing with you a little ahead of schedule. You can't just decide that, she said, almost screaming. We're married, you made vows. So did you, I said. They didn't include except when I'm in Miami. She started crying then, that hiccupy sob that used to work on me. Can we please just talk about this when I'm home? Please, don't do this right now. Just unlock the card. I swear we'll work it out. No, I said. This is logistics only from here on. When you get back, your key won't work. Your stuff will be packed in the second bedroom. We'll talk about next steps after I've spoken to a lawyer. If you need money tonight, ask one of your friends or the guy from your story. He seemed very invested. David, she said, a dangerous quiet coming into her voice. If you hang up on me right now, I'm done. I'm serious. I will never forgive you. You were done when you hit post, I said. I'm just catching up. She inhaled sharply, like she was going to launch another round. I cut in. I'm not doing this yelling thing with you, Ash. I'm not your father, your bank, or your villain. I'm your husband, for now. And I'm making a decision to not be in a marriage where I have to watch my wife act single on social media. Choices have invoices. This one is yours. You'll regret this, she said again, voice shaking. Maybe, I said, but I'd regret staying and teaching you that this was okay a lot more. I ended the call. My hand didn't shake, my heart didn't race, it just was. Ray was watching me from the couch. That her? Yeah, I said. How'd it go? She's mad, I said. She'll be madder tomorrow, then she'll try sad, then bargaining, then back to mad, the usual cycle. Damn, he said softly, you really pulled the plug. I read the script she wrote, I said. She wanted to be single, at least part-time. I'm just giving her the full-time position. We sat there in silence for a while, the hum of the game on TV filling the space where my old life used to be. That night I slept. Not well, not like a baby, but enough. No pacing, no replaying arguments in my head for the 20th time, just a dark room and a clear decision. In the morning, my phone had a cluster of notifications. 3 missed calls from an unknown Miami number, 2 from Becca, 1 from Ashley's mom, a stream of texts from Ashley herself. Wow, you seriously did that. Everyone here thinks you're crazy. You left your wife stranded. You're sick. I can't believe I married you. I'm coming home early. You better have fixed this by then. I didn't respond. I texted her mom back. Hi, Mrs. Lane. I'll give Ashley a ride from the airport when she gets in. We can talk later. That was it. I spent Sunday cleaning the apartment. Not the angry kind of cleaning where you slam drawers and scrub until your knuckles bleed. The thoughtful kind. I boxed up more of her stuff. Took down a few photos that hurt to look at. Left the one from our wedding on the bookshelf for now. I wasn't ready to rewrite history, just the present. Monday morning, I took my usual shower, shaved, put on my work clothes, and left like it was any other day. I checked my email at lunch and saw a response from the lawyer I'd contacted Sunday night through an online portal. Consultation available Wednesday afternoon, it said. Bring any financial documents you have and a list of specific concerns. I added it to my calendar. Around 3 p.m., Another text from Ashley popped up. Landing at 5:40, it said, "You're picking me up." Not a question, an assumption. I looked at it for a moment. Then I replied, "Yes, I'll be there." Ray texted me, "You sure you want to be in a car with a hurricane?" "Better than letting a hurricane Uber to a house she can't get into," I wrote back. I left work a little early, drove to the airport, and parked in short term. The arrivals road was its usual chaos of honking and hazard lights. I leaned on my car and watched the doors. She came out of the sliding doors in an oversized sweatshirt and leggings, hair in a messy bun again, sunglasses on even though the sun was behind the terminal. She pulled her carry-on behind her, moving fast, scanning the crowd. When her eyes landed on me, her mouth pressed into a line. She yanked her suitcase toward the car. I opened the trunk without a word. She threw it in, slammed it harder than necessary, and got into the passenger seat, arms crossed. The drive home started in silence. The air between us was dense, like Florida in August. Finally, she said, "I can't believe you did that to me." I kept my eyes on the road, removed you from a credit card and changed my locks. "Stranded me in another state," she said. "Like I'm some random girl, not your wife. Everyone there said it was abusive." "I'm sure they did," I said. "People who live in chaos don't like it when someone turns the lights on." "That's such a condescending thing to say," she snapped. "You think you're so superior because you sit at home with your spreadsheets while I actually live." "I don't think I'm superior," I said. "I think I'm allowed to expect my wife not to tell the world she's single for the weekend while grinding on strangers. Call me old-fashioned." She sucked in a breath. "It was a song lyric, it's like a meme. Everyone says that." "Everyone doesn't have my bank card in their purse," I said. "And if their partners are fine with it, great. I'm not them, I'm me. And I'm out." "You can't just be out," she said. "That's not how this works. You're just mad because you got embarrassed by an Instagram story." "Mad," I repeated. "I was mad months ago. I'm past mad. I'm clear. There's a difference." She took her sunglasses off, turned in her seat to stare at me. "So what? You're divorcing me because I went to Miami?" "No," I said. "I'm divorcing you because you kept erasing lines I drew. Miami was just the point where you wrote single across the contract and signed it." "That's dramatic," she said. "Different word," I said. "That's clarity." She glared. "You've been planning this, haven't you? Moving your paycheck, all that. You wanted an excuse." "Don't flatter yourself," I said mildly. "I didn't need an excuse. I needed a reason. You gave me several. The paycheck move was me protecting the house fund when you started calling me financially abusive for not funding your vacations. I could have stayed and done separate finances. I might have, if you hadn't decided to put your weekend relationship status on the internet." She went quiet for a moment, then said, softer, "We could go to counseling. We could fix this. You don't have to do something this extreme." "I suggested counseling months ago," I said. "You said we were that couple and that I was making problems where there weren't any." "Well, now there's a problem," she said, voice cracking. "So let's fix it." "We're past fixing," I said. "We're at accounting, Pearson v. Reality. Choices have invoices. I'm just paying mine and returning yours." Tears slid down her cheeks. She wiped them angrily. "I hate when you talk like that." "Like what?" I asked, in metaphors instead of screaming. "Like you're some wise monk above it all," she snapped. "Just say you're heartbroken." "I was," I said quietly, "for a while. That's when I was asking, negotiating, trying to explain how much this hurt, when you called my boundaries controlling. Heartbreak is when you still hope. I don't hope now, I observe." She didn't respond. When we pulled into the apartment complex parking lot, she reached into her bag and pulled out her key ring. She held it up like a weapon. "You changed the locks," she said flatly. "Yes," I said. "I told you I would." "Like I'm a burglar," she said. "Like I'm allowed to decide who has access to my home," I said. It's not a punishment, Ash. It's a boundary. I'm not comfortable with someone who treats our marriage like a part-time job having unfettered access to my space. I parked, killed the engine, and got out. She sat there for a second, then followed. At the door, she shoved her key into the lock and twisted. It stopped halfway. She tried again, harder, nothing. She turned to me, eyes blazing. Open the door. I unlocked it with my key and stepped inside. Come in, we'll talk. She stormed past me into the living room, then stopped short when she saw the cleared-off shelves, the missing photos, the subtle rearrangement that made the apartment feel lighter. Her gaze snapped to me. You really did pack my stuff. Yes, I said. It's in the second bedroom. She walked down the hall fast, threw the door open, and saw the suitcases and boxes lined up along the wall like a small, polite eviction. You are actually kicking me out, she whispered. I'm ending a living arrangement that doesn't work for me, I said. You are free to stay somewhere else while we figure out the legal part. Where the hell am I supposed to go? She demanded. My name is on the lease. It is, I said, and I'm not asking you to move out tonight. I'm telling you I won't live with you as my wife anymore. You can stay here a couple of days while you figure out your next move if you need to, but I won't be here if you do. Or you can go to your mom's or crash with Becca. Plenty of options. I'm not throwing your stuff on the lawn. I'm offering you choices. You made this happen in, 2 days, she said. You're psychotic. I made this happen over months of collecting data, I said. 2 days ago, I finalized the plan. There's a difference. She sank onto the edge of the bed, staring at the suitcases. We had a life. We had a spreadsheet, I said. You opted out of the life part when you decided you wanted out on weekends. That's not fair, she said. I never cheated. I raised an eyebrow. If I had flown to Miami with my buddies, posted a video of me grinding on some girl with the caption, "Single for the weekend," would you be sitting there arguing the technicalities of whether my pants were zipped? That's not, she started, then stopped. Exactly, I said. You can call it emotional cheating, physical cheating, disrespect, whatever label makes you feel least guilty. I'm not in the business of rebranding. I'm in the business of deciding what I will and won't tolerate. She buried her face in her hands. You're just going to throw away 5 years. I'm not throwing away anything, I said. I'm acknowledging it didn't turn into what I thought it would. There's a difference between a sunk cost and a foundation. Ours cracked. I'm not building a house on it. She looked up, eyes red. I can change. I'll stop going out. I'll delete Instagram. I'll. Stop, I said gently. This isn't a negotiation. I'm not dangling your ring over a shark tank waiting to see how far you'll swim. I'm done. This is logistics now. She blinked. So that's it. You've already decided I don't get a say. You had a say, I said. Every time I asked you to come home before 2 on a Wednesday, to not spend $2,000 from our house fund on a trip, to not call me abusive for drawing a budget. Every time you ignored that, you cast a vote. This is just the final tally. She let out a bitter laugh. You rehearsed that line, didn't you? No, I said. I've just had a lot of time to think while you were out making memories. We sat in silence for a long moment. The quiet felt like an extra person in the room watching us. Finally, she said, so what happens now? Now, I said, we make a plan. We split the remaining joint money fairly. We decide who's staying here until the lease is up. We talk to a lawyer. And we don't drag this out with on-again, off-again drama. Clean lines, clean break. She sniffed. You really think you'll be better off without me? I think I'll be at peace without wondering which version of you I'm getting tonight, I said. That's worth a lot. She stared at the floor. You're going to be lonely. Probably, I said. For a while, loneliness is still quieter than chaos. She shook her head. You sound like a Reddit comment section. They're not all wrong, I said. I stood up. I'm going to stay at Ray and Jenna's for a couple nights. That gives you space here to figure out if you're packing everything or just the essentials for now. I'll come back Wednesday after I talk to the lawyer and we can go over what they say." "You're really not staying?" she asked, something like fear in her voice. "No," I said. "I'm not sleeping in the same bed with someone I've told I'm divorcing. That's mixed signals. I'm all about clarity these days." She didn't follow me to the door. She didn't throw herself at my feet or grab my arm. She just sat there on the edge of the bed, staring at the suitcases that represented every version of her I'd lived with. I grabbed a duffel, threw a few days' worth of clothes and toiletries into it, and left my key on the hook by the door. I took the spare I'd put in the drawer. At Ray and Jenna's, they didn't pepper me with questions. They gave me a blanket, a spot on the couch, and a beer. "You sure?" Jenna asked quietly when Ray was in the kitchen. "Yes," I said. "The kind of sure where you're not yelling anymore, just done." "That's the scariest kind," she murmured, "for the other person." Over the next few days, Ashley went through the cycle I'd predicted. First came anger. Paragraph-long texts about how heartless I was, how I'd humiliated her, how everyone in Miami had taken her side and said I was an abuser. "You left out the single for the weekend part when you told that story, I'm guessing," I replied once. She didn't respond. Then came sadness. "I can't sleep," she wrote one night. "I keep looking at your side of the bed, I miss you." I didn't answer. Wanting me back didn't erase what she'd done. Then bargaining. "What if we did a trial separation instead of divorce?" she suggested. "I could stay with my mom for a month, we both go to counseling, maybe we find our way back." "We're already separated," I wrote back. "I moved out, and I'm talking to a lawyer tomorrow. I'm not interested in trial or reconciliation. I'm interested in a clean finish." "You're being so cold," she wrote. "This isn't you. You're confusing me with the version of me that tolerated things I shouldn't have," I wrote. "He's retired." My meeting with the lawyer was as exciting as any pile of paperwork can be. He walked me through options: legal separation versus divorce, division of assets, how the house fund would be viewed, how the lease factored in. "You don't have kids, no property together yet," he said, flipping through my neatly organized folder. "That makes things simpler. Emotionally, no. Legally, yes. As long as you can both agree on a fair split of money and who takes over the lease, this doesn't have to get ugly." "I'd like it not to," I said. "I'm not interested in revenge, just out." "That helps," he said. "Judges like people who aren't burning the courtroom down to make a point." We drafted a basic separation agreement outline, half the existing savings each. She'd either stay in the apartment and take over the lease after the current term, or I would, depending on what she wanted and could afford. Retirement accounts remained individual. No alimony either way, we made similar incomes. When I met Ashley back at the apartment to go over it, she looked tired. Not just from lack of sleep, but like the performance muscles were sore. She sat at the kitchen table, hair in a low ponytail, no makeup, sweats. The girl from the Miami stories looked like a costume she'd borrowed and had to return. "So this is it," she said, scanning the pages. "We're really doing this." "Yes," I said, "we are." She frowned. "You're not even going to try to, I don't know, fight for us." "I fought when I asked you not to treat me like your dad," I said. "When I asked you to come home before 2, to talk to me about big expenses, to take my feelings seriously. This isn't me giving up. This is me accepting your answer." She traced a finger down the page. "You're really okay with splitting the savings in half?" "It hurts," I said, "but it's fair, we both contributed. I'm not going to nickel and dime the past." She laughed bitterly. "Funny coming from you." "Boundaries aren't nickels," I said. "They're walls." She sighed. "I can't afford this place on my own." "You can stay until the lease is up," I said. "Then we can reassess. I can take over the lease after that if you want and you find someplace cheaper. Or we end it now, break the lease together, and both find smaller spots. Up to you. I'm flexible on that part. She stared at me. Why are you being so decent? Because your behavior doesn't dictate my character, I said. You made selfish choices. I'm not going to respond by becoming someone I don't recognize. Tears filled her eyes again. I really messed this up, didn't I? I didn't rush to comfort her, I just nodded once. Yeah, you did. We worked out the logistics over the next week. She decided to stay in the apartment until the lease ended in 4 months, then move in with a coworker who needed a roommate. I signed a release of responsibility from the lease at the end date. She'd either renew in her name or move. I found a small 1-bedroom closer to work, nothing fancy but quiet. I bought a cheap second-hand couch, moved my bed, my desk, my few boxes of personal stuff. I left the shared furniture with her. I didn't want the couch we'd fought on. The day I came back to move my last load, she was in the kitchen, making coffee. You're really going to live with that Craigslist couch, she said, trying for a joke. I've had worse, I said. College couches are war crimes. She smiled weakly. Remember that futon you had that smelled like ramen and defeat? Yeah, I said, surprised at the shared memory bubbling up. I do. We stood there in that strange, almost familiar silence for a minute. I hope you're happy, she said quietly, someday. I hope you figure out what you actually want, I said, not just what looks good in a story. She bit her lip. You really never want to see me again, do you? I didn't say that, I said. I said I don't want to be married to you. If you call me in a year because you got into a car accident, I'll probably still show up. I'm not deleting you as a human. I'm just opting out of this version of us. She nodded slowly. I get it, too late, but I get it. Late is still better than never, I said, for you. She watched me pick up the last box and head for the door. David, she said. I stopped, turned. I am sorry, she said, not just for Miami, for all of it. I know, I said. I believe you. I also believe you showed me who you are right now. Both can be true. Then I left. The first night in my new place, the quiet was loud. No second toothbrush, no half-used skincare bottles on the counter, no string lights. Just white walls, a couch that creaked when you sat on it, and my bed. I made myself a simple dinner, ate it at the tiny kitchen table, and listened to the hum of the fridge. I kept waiting for my phone to light up with a long message from her. Soam.